Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. At BriteVibe, we believe everyone deserves to be happy. But in today's world, everywhere you turn, there is division and negativity. At BriteVibe, we have created a global movement to bring 8 million people together who are inspired to live bright, live bold, and share bright vibes. Alone, it can be hard to change, but together we can change the world. Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. All right, Addison Bowen, welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. So happy to have you on today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show today because we're going to talk about something I know a little about, but I'm going to have you share and enlighten me a lot on it. But you're a business coach and you're a certified hypnotherapist.
Yes, that is correct.
And you use that hypnotherapy through the lens of business, is kind of where we start. Is that accurate?
I do. I work with entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, anyone in the online space that is building or growing an online business. So yeah.
Perfect. And so really, I love bringing on new topics to the show. I love, new concepts, new ideas. Now this hypnotherapy has been around a long time, but I'd like for you, so if somebody's never heard that term or heard the term, but it's like, what is that exactly? So what does a certified hypnotherapist therapist do?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And something I'm happy to answer because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around what hypnotherapy is, or if people know anything about it, they're like, it's stage hypnotism, or they see, stuff in movies, or even I think America's Got Talent or something when a hypnotist comes on and makes people do crazy things like cluck like chickens or,
Bark like
sing.
dogs, right?
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I've seen that. I've
exactly.
actually, I went to a comedian show one time, and he had them do all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what people's version of what hypnosis or hypnotherapy typically is. And
So today
I
on the show, you're gonna make me bark like a dog,
yeah, exactly.
or cluck like a chicken, right?
Or, sing something
I
for
love
us,
it.
like
I love it. I love it. And at the end, I'll wake up. I'll be like, "What happened? What did we start the show?"
right.
Right.
Yeah, you'll wake up and be like, "What did we even talk about? I
What did
don't
we talk
remember
about?
anything."
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's so funny because that's 99% of people's idea of hypnotherapy. So a lot of my time is spent like addressing
Deprogramming
misconceptions.
that. Yeah. Right.
Yep. So hypnotherapy is actually something that is based in how our mind works and the science behind our mind. So I like to say that just like we're born to breathe, we're born to be hypnotized, which I know I say that and some people are like, what the heck do you even mean? But really all hypnotherapy does is allows us to get into the subconscious mind, which we can dive deeper into that and why that's so important with mindset work as well too, and reprogram habits, patterns of behavior, the way that you show up in business, confidence, imposter syndrome, literally like reprogram any of that, even procrastination in one session, because we're getting into the subconscious mind. So just going back to my statement around just like we're born to breathe, we're born to be hypnotized. All hypnotherapy is essentially a state of relaxation that gives us access to your subconscious mind. So we essentially, me utilizing all of my techniques and my certifications, I help you relax into the theta brainwave state, which is what gives us access to the subconscious mind and can do all sorts of fun things to help you like achieve your goals and make more money and be more confident and even stop smoking and stop drinking. It's really wild how one session can shift a lot for people. So that's my like very simplified version. But I'm happy to dive deeper into subconscious mind or any of that. So yeah.
So and so let's just right off the top give some examples of people that you've worked with that kind of where they came in at, and then what was the what their experience was.
Yeah. So that's a really great question because I work with a range of entrepreneurs, and you would think that, when you're starting your business, that you would work through a lot of the mindset stuff that can come up at the beginning of business when you reach like certain milestones. Like I have worked with people from $5,000 months per month in their business to, millionaires that are still struggling with the same thing. So most of the time people are coming to me constantly stressed about money, having a hard time making decisions in their business because of that. Constant procrastination, having a hard time like doing what they say they're going to do. So a lot of them know I need to start the podcast. I need to show up, on social media. I need to sell my services. I need to start, creating a website. I need to do all of these things, but they're kind of stuck in that analysis paralysis or they have like a lot of fear showing up online, going live, showing up on TikTok, starting the podcast. So inadvertently that kind of keeps them at a standstill from achieving their goals. So with hypnotherapy, even we'll just use the example of like procrastination. I'm working with someone right now who is a millionaire, but struggles with procrastination, struggles with, dealing with clients and some like even having confronting conversations or sales calls, and pitching their prices because they have a fear around like how high their prices are. And so, again, they're a millionaire still struggling with some of these things. So in one session, we were able to kind of nip the procrastination in the butt, see where it's coming from their childhood, and shift that so quickly, so much so that now they are like, I'm so disciplined. I'm so, showing up in my business, doing exactly what I need to do. And they're seeing their income almost inadvertently just increase from that because they're getting all of these things done. So it's like a very simplified example, but a lot of people are struggling with those things like perfectionism, procrastination, imposter syndrome, um, and fear around money. And when we shift that, we typically are showing up with the mindset of like millionaire mindset, showing up every single day doing what we say we're going to do to move the needle forward and produce results. So yeah.
And so I've done quite a bit of stuff with Tony Robbins, and he's kind of the OG, I guess you could say, of some of this
Hmm.
stuff, right? Of definitely the NLP side,
Yes.
because a neuro-linguistic program. So that's what he basically based his whole career on was taking that and then just continually refining it, and honing it to a point where it's just automatic in him now. But I've noticed in myself and then in others, I've seen just really good success with that type of programming. And when I say programming, it's almost like deprogramming, right? If we've
Yeah.
got these programs that we're running from childhood or early adolescence that are negatively impacting our lives, and it's because we've got a story we're playing, or we've got some subconscious belief, conscious or mostly subconscious belief, right? And until we find a way to, it's almost like saying you've got some type of, well, you had autoimmune, but some type of disease, but you're not doing anything to treat it, right?
Yeah.
So when we have these limiting beliefs or these negative um, stories that we're running, it can really wreck a life if we
Yeah.
don't. And so where do you go? When you go to the doctor and they run an X-ray and a CT and all this stuff, and they're like, "Well, there's nothing wrong with you," and you're like, "Well, something's wrong," But it's and I've got a lot of physician friends, general practice doctors, and they'll tell me that 80% of what they see, the ailments and all this stuff is really mental, right? It's a
Yeah.
mental and emotional trauma or mental emotional stress that are causing people to become sick, which I thought was interesting because these are very Western medicine doctors, but they even get that they see enough people. They're like, oh, okay. They kind of start to see certain things, right?
Yeah.
And so what I guess, what were some of your own limiting beliefs or subconscious beliefs that you were holding on to? Where did they kind of touch as much as you want to on kind of what that stemmed from? Because I want to
Yeah.
really make that connection. So what was the limiting belief? What did it stem from? And then what was the antidote for that? So it's
Yeah.
like a three-part question.
Yeah, no, I love that. So first I just want to say I love what you just said because even going through, my hypnosis certifications and all the training that I've done, something that really hit home for me. And the
Hmm.
first one that I did was they said, if there's something like a goal that you want in life or something that you want to happen in business that has not happened yet, there's
Hmm.
likely some sort of limiting belief in the way. And
Right.
so that was where it really like clicked for me, where it was like, okay, I have all this strategy, but if I am playing myself small in business, then I'm not going to achieve these goals. So I think initially the first thing that really came up for me, the limiting belief was that it's not safe for me to be seen.
Oh.
So that was in
Hmm.
showing up on social media. That
Hmm.
was, allowing myself to even be successful. I was almost fearful of my own success
Right.
because, and that kind of parallels with the fear of being seen because I thought, okay, if I'm successful, I'm going to lose people in my life because no one in my life has made a lot of money, like family, friends.
Got it.
It's just not something that's like I've been around or been used to.
Mhm.
So I had this idea that if I was super successful, people weren't going to accept me. I was going to lose friends. I was going to maybe lose family, or people would, see me differently, see maybe me making a lot of money differently or me having this level of success differently. And so that was one of the first things that came up. Where that stems from, I think, is just my childhood, hearing money doesn't grow on trees, hearing that rich people are bad, having this view around what making a lot of money and success looks like, and just hearing these things kind of repeatedly from my parents or people around me, or just the level of success that I was exposed to. And no one in my family is really entrepreneurial. So I think that was the major
Yeah.
thing. With the fear of being seen, I think that a lot of women experience that just in general, because we hear, I mean, even in, as a kid, I heard like women are meant to be heard but not seen or something like that along those lines. And so I think that's,
Seen but
where
not
that
heard.
stemmed
Yeah.
from. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I think that's where that stemmed from. I just had this idea that it wasn't okay for me to be seen around a lot of people. It wasn't okay for me to, have people see me going live or have millions of people see my content. So essentially, I kind of created this level or this cap of success that I believed was possible for me. So that, initially was like, well, you can work with clients behind the scenes, but you can never be this person that's like starting the podcast, that's like seen by millions of people, that's Tony Robbins level, speaking on
Right.
stages. So I really had this like cap for my success. So again, coming back to that idea that, if you have a goal in life or business that you haven't achieved yet, it's likely there's some sort of limiting belief in the way. It was 100% true for me, throughout different points in my business, because when I was able to shift, like, okay, it's safe for you to be seen. Also, people are not going to leave you if you achieve this level of success, and, started having those conversations and was aware of this belief. I even started having conversations with family and friends and said, hey, this is a fear that I have. Like, what are your thoughts on this? And recognizing like, okay, I brought light to this belief. Now I can do something about it, and I can have those conversations, or I can integrate the belief that it's safe for me to be seen. That was really what I struggled with at the beginning. I think now, you do this work and those things just don't go away. Like, you're dealing with something at each new level. But even starting my podcast, I had the same fears kind of come up, because I have been filming my podcast in a professional studio with, professional video editing, all the things. And still, the first time I went into the studio, I was like, this is the scariest thing I've ever done.
Right.
So again, that kind of came up at a new level where it's like, okay, now you're opening up to, millions of more people, or, whatever. I kind of capped that. But having these tools, I was able to actually do a hypnotherapy session around confidence, around public speaking, around like a lot of different things. So yeah. And I think now it's still, different money stories come up from my childhood. I noticed some scarcity come up at different points where, I have fear around spending money, and just having the tools to, shift those things really quickly so my business can continue to grow is something that I like achieve or attribute all of my success to. So yeah.
And as we evolve, or as we learn, or as we deprogram these negative beliefs, it is like I think it's to some degree like a video game, right? Here's level 1, level 2, level 3,
Hmm.
but you have to clear the level. You have to have the tools, and you have to have the resources, and you have to kind of defeat the monster in that level. And by monster, I mean kind of subconscious beliefs for that level. But there's always another level to, whether, I think, and you mentioned this, I think, in some of your bio, like, as you clear some of these levels, eventually it comes like purpose, contribution, spirituality, your connection with a higher power, right? All these things start to kick in once you realize that the money doesn't, they say money doesn't buy happiness. And I too have met many millionaires that are super successful in business with wrecked families and multiple
Hmm.
divorces, and probably on some type of medication for anxiety, and right, because they're driven to succeed because of their fear of failure more than they are of the contribution side.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
guess, as you deal with the clients you deal with, kind of what are you seeing, I guess, in your clients as they start to kind of get past some of these limiting beliefs?
Yeah. I have clients that are in their early 20s that have the belief that people aren't going to take them seriously or hire
Hmm.
them
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
they're so young. So that is something we we work through as well too with a
Yeah.
lot of my clients. But I think ultimately, like, if we're talking about like my impact and my purpose, like um, yes, it's like you said, it's not all about the money and it's not all about, being able to buy like luxury purses or, whatever.
Right.
Like I think a lot of
Right.
people do have that ultimate goal. But I'll just use like the millionaire that I used the example of
Uh-huh.
last time. The fact that, they've already achieved this level of success,
Hmm.
but in doing our work together, they are able to, like you said, with the anxiety, they're able to release that. They're able to, have more spaciousness in their time because they're in their day because they're not procrastinating. They're releasing this like cycle of procrastination, getting a lot of things done at the last minute, experiencing burnout. They're releasing like that cycle of burnout. Their relationships are getting better in their personal lives. They're having, a lot more time to spend with their family and friends. They're not fearful of spending the money anymore. So they take their family on a, trip, and
Right.
they're also making more money because they're more productive in their business. But for me, ultimately, it is like the feelings of, yes, you might be making more money because you're more productive with hypnotherapy, but at the end of the day, if I can help you even, 50% release anxiety, feel better in your business, stop experiencing the burnout, like actually feel confident, that's, my ultimate mission. So I feel like I like to highlight those things because I think we talk a lot about the money in business, but
Hmm.
ultimately, like that's why I'm here is I want people to fall back in love with their business, fall back in love with their mission, strengthen and deepen relationships in their lives and with their clients as well too, and just ultimately, like, stop the mental spiral of, like, not feeling good enough or the imposter syndrome or the fear of failure or the fear of success, like, really just ultimately stop that mental spiral, so, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And for me personally, I have just the set of eyes that I was given at birth, and this is the eyes I still look through today, right? The same eyes, and they've just, some of the thoughts have evolved over time. But I've noticed in my own life, the more I tie my sense of purpose to serving others and my sense of purpose to a higher power that I'm kind of, to some degree, working with or working for, to some degree, as somebody pointed out to me yesterday. My business, I've got a guy who's coaching me through some transition stuff in my own life, and he was like, "Who do you really working for?" And I was like, "Well, we're working for God, I guess." I mean, ultimately, but so as I've given over kind of the need to know everything and the need to stress about everything and the need to feel like I'm controlling everything to I'm using my gifts for a higher purpose. I don't always know where that leads or what the next step is, but the more I've become uncomfortable or comfortable with being uncomfortable, it seems the easier life flows and the more magical and the more wonderful it becomes because I don't know every day what the day is going to look like. I don't know the wonderful people that are going to come into my life. And it seems like there's more and more opportunities that are flowing all the time because I'm less and less concerned about what tomorrow brings. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that we shouldn't plan for our families and make sure that, I'm not saying that strategic planning is bad. I do strategic planning as well, but letting go of some of the outcome all the time. Like somehow I've gotten to the point in my own life where it's like, it's arrogant for me to think that I know the answer to all the questions. Really arrogant for me to think that I know any of the answers to any of the questions, all of the answer, because I'm one person. And in any interaction, I'm dealing with other human beings and they have parts of the puzzle too. So how am I showing up and how am I collaborating? Because through that collaboration, then I get the best answers, right? Because then there's kind of like a more flowing between us than just our own intelligence.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like, how cool is it that we don't need to know the answers to everything? I think about that a lot,
Uh-huh.
in business because I think you have to, like you said, have the strategy. Like I have a, marketing strategy. I have a plan
Mhm.
for the
Yeah.
next,
Mhm.
year, whatever. But also, like, there's so many opportunities that are presented to us each and every day, people we might meet,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. And I think like, yeah, we don't need to know. And like hypnotherapy has helped me release a lot of that control, especially like being so young. I'm like, I don't need to have the answers right now.
Right.
So I love that.
And there's a freedom in it, and also as entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs, um, usually these businesses that we create and the things that we create come out of a space of not knowing. It's like the not knowing is where the opportunity lies, right? If it's known, then everybody's doing it or everybody's got the answer. It's in the unknown that these like all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, there's an opportunity here that there's an area of life or an area of business that's not being served because nobody's thinking of it that way. And it's and only in usually the spaces of after somewhere where I've been kind of at a peaceful state, do these ideas flow that are like, oh wow, I could do this or I could do this, and that would help or make this thing better.
Yeah.
Right? Innovation, I think, happens sometimes not in a vacuum, but definitely after periods of maybe silence or rejuvenation or solace. It's like the harder I work on something, usually that doesn't get that can get that can get okay results, can get good results. But usually the more I'm collaborative and or coming from a space of being full versus depleted, I'm always gonna get a better answer, right?
Yeah.
If I've had enough sleep, if I've had enough, I don't really like the term self-care, but I'd say like time to recharge the batteries, right? If I've recharged the batteries and I'm doing good on my mindset and feeding my mind and body positive things, then usually I'm gonna have better answers. It's kinda like I put
Yeah.
better fuel in a car, the car's gonna perform better. If I put, crap fuel in a car, it's gonna perform worse. So what are we feeding into our environments? What are we feeding into our minds?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic of conversation too, because I tell my clients that all the time. There's actually a reason for, us getting ideas in the shower or going on a
Yeah,
walk and all of a sudden
exactly.
having like all these ideas, like that slight shift in consciousness. And another reason why I think mindset work in business is so important because I think a lot of people are operating, like we said, with this anxiety and stuff like that in business from a state of fight or flight constantly.
Mhm.
And our best
Yep.
ideas, our best like money making ideas, our best that nothing like comes from that fight or flight outside of literally trying to survive.
Yep.
And so, with mindset work or even like that rejuvenation, like you
Mhm.
said, or taking care of yourself, first, even just taking a nap, going on a walk, getting
Yeah.
outside, like pulling away from that mental spiral and from the burnout can also give you the best ideas that are going to, get you to your desires, whether that is travel or making more money in business or more clients or the viral video, whatever whatever it is. So, yeah, I love that.
And so typically, I guess, so we make it a little less scary maybe or invasive. Tell me, like, in a hypnotherapy session, whether they're working with you or someone else, in a hypnotherapy session, kind of what is the rhythm or the steps that happen throughout that session, just so people can get their minds around, because it may still be a little vague of, okay, but what exactly is that,
Yeah.
right? So kind of what would be a general, because I've heard you say several times, literally in a session, you can get past
Yeah.
this or get past this or get, so what's a general in session entail of?
Yeah. So, first, I always have clients fill out a form and kind of tell me about their goals, what they're looking to achieve, whether that's more money, success. It's always more money, and we kind of dive deeper into that. Like,
Right,
what's
but but
the
but
what's
but what's
the
the
ultimate?
why,
Yeah,
right? What's the
like
why behind the money? Because it's never the money.
exactly.
It's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then diving deeper into that, it's probably like the safety that money brings. It's
Mhm,
the ability to travel with their family. It's more, spaciousness, like buying a home, whatever it is. We kind of dive deeper into that. And in the beginning of sessions, what I typically do is we go through those goals and then go through kind of how they're feeling right now in their business. And I typically pinpoint some of their blocks right off the bat just by talking to them. So top things that I see are money blocks. So, how they feel or experience money or their relationship to money from childhood. Success blocks. So, fear of success, fear of failure, what that's creating. And then visibility blocks. So, like the fear of being seen. Again, that's something that most women have a little bit of. So, I kind of pinpoint like where is this stemming from? And then I will create kind of a custom plan for them. So some people, we can do one session and they can take that recording and they can see major shifts. Other people I recommend work with me for a longer period of time. Sometimes that's dependent on their age, how long they've had
mhm.
these beliefs, how long they've had this experience, how long they've been in, business. Versus like for me, it's really, really easy for me to shift things because I am young and I've been using hypnotherapy since I was like
Mhm.
22 years old. So
Right.
it's really, really simple for me to shift things just because I haven't been experiencing the same thing over the span of like
Mm,
30, 40 years. So,
good point.
we kind of create a custom plan based on that. In the actual session, if it's your first time with me, we spend about 20 minutes talking about your goals, but also talking about what hypnotherapy is, what to expect, the subconscious mind, I basically go through a whole spiel of what to expect in the session. So that's going to look like me dispelling some of the myths we talked about. I can't control people's minds.
Right.
I can only help you achieve your intentions. I like to bring humor into it, and I always tell people to close their eyes, and then I'll be like, "That's what hypnotherapy feels like. Okay, now go in the corner and stand on your head," and they're
Right.
like opening their eyes, like, "Why would I? Why would I
Right.
do that?" So that kind of just proves, that's all a session is literally closing your eyes and me talking to you throughout the whole session. And so we dispel some of those common myths and talk about your goals, kind of create a little plan. And then an actual session is literally going to be me talking the whole time. It's very similar to a guided meditation
Mhm.
session. But there is a set of, protocol and a framework that I go through based on my training that just ensures that you are relaxed enough and you are in the theta brainwave state, which is the state we have access to the subconscious mind in. And, that's through me looking at your body language, as well as your breathing.
Mhm.
And then, the therapy session is actually me going through like a set of framework and protocol to help you achieve your goals. So it's very relaxing. I always tell people, like it's like kind of a refreshing nap. You're going to be
Mhm.
awake the whole time. You hear everything that I say. But if you've ever done any sort of guided meditation,
Mhm.
like on YouTube or, a podcast, it's exactly the same. It feels exactly the same. Just feels like you're relaxing and listening to me take you through a visualization or a guided like journey in your mind. So yeah. And then towards the end, I just count you back up. So I'll do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, have you open your eyes. And then we talk about the session and just share any insights or thoughts or anything that came up. So yeah.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. The Yeah, that's super cool. And I guess I just want to say at this point that it's like life's and I say this through living it myself. Life's super short to suffer through it, right? Because I've taken large periods of my life and suffered through them because I wasn't as proactive at engaging in kind of the subconscious, and then that's really what led me to Tony Robbins' work because there was, he does it on a mass scale. He doesn't meet with people one on one. He meets with, 4,000 people at a time in a stadium, right? But or more. But that did I did get real results that began to change my mindset. And to your point, or earlier in the thing, they were in the subconscious, so I didn't even know that was
Mhm.
affecting me in that way, right? I had some limiting beliefs and some ways that I was filtering the world that were very that got me to a certain level of success, but then they also would keep me from having healthy relationships, as far as the opposite sex and girlfriends, and it was just a mess because I was running this negative, not negative programming, but just the wrong programming for me to have a good, healthy relationship, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so and so I think I would just hope anybody listening to this is like, I I if you're suffering in any way, and when I say suffering, just struggling with the anxiety, maybe borderline depression, any of that stuff, just get help, right? And when I say get help, I really like the work that you're doing with the NLP and the hypnotherapy because it's effective, but it's also very fast, right?
Mhm.
And they say there's no quick fixes, but can be quicker fixes, um, if you're open to that, right? If you're open to actually doing something. And most people, I think I've had to struggle to certain levels of stress and anxiety before I was ready to do something about it, right? Too too often we get in this stage of being apathetic about ourselves or our life circumstances, and you actually sometimes need things to break down, and you need the shit to hit the fan before you have the motivation to drive forward. Sometimes, not in everybody. That's been my experience. So sometimes I've had to get real close to the bottom of the barrel before I
Yeah.
was like, okay, now I'm ready to listen to what life has to teach me versus I think I'm going to try to figure it out.
Yeah, I think most people kind of have to reach that rock
Right.
bottom. I did the same thing with my autoimmune. It wasn't until I was diagnosed with that I started looking at how I was taking care of my body. Granted, I was very young, but
Mhm.
but I love what you mentioned around the subconscious mind and how it is subconscious. So you're not aware that
Mhm.
you're playing out this programming. So I think, one thing I just love to highlight when it comes to hypnotherapy and the subconscious mind is that 95% of your overall life is guided by the subconscious mind, and it is
Mhm.
subconscious. So you don't even realize you're playing out that programming or
Right.
those stories, like I said. And the subconscious mind houses everything from childhood events from 0 to 8 to
Mhm.
religious beliefs to
Mhm.
intuition to your habits to who you believe you are and your identity and et cetera, et cetera. So I love that you mentioned that, just because I think there are so many people that, are experiencing or needing help or are in a place of quote unquote suffering, even if they
Mhm.
haven't hit rock bottom,
Right.
but aren't realizing that it is coming from a subconscious place, and they're creating that in their lives, or that from their programming. And so I almost like to think about the subconscious mind as like a computer program. It
Right.
essentially gets programmed from 0 to 8, and then your life is just creating a consistent pattern from those beliefs. So it wants to prove itself right. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to follow a consistent pattern. Anything outside of your comfort zone, even if like your comfort zone is suffering, is going to be challenging, or is going to be met with resistance. And so I 100% agree. Like, you don't have to suffer. I think hypnotherapy is a great thing to integrate, even if you already see a therapist. I have a lot of clients that do both, that see a
Mhm.
therapist and do hypnotherapy, but there's so many tools out there, from breathwork to therapy to hypnotherapy. Like, hypnotherapy isn't the end all be all, but
Mhm.
so many tools. And I love that, just the idea of like, you don't have to suffer. There's
Right.
so many free resources as well too, to provide support. So
Mhm. Yes. So yeah, thank you for that. So as you look at the next maybe decade of your life, since you're as far as professionally, you're young in profession. So as you look at the next decade of your life, kind of what is your hopes and your kind of dreams or your aspirations with the gifts that you've tapped into, and kind of what does that look like?
yeah, so my podcast is about to launch in actually this week.
Uh-huh.
So that's going live. That's
And
going to
how
be
do how do people find that? Yeah. I mean, not
it's
find it, but
actually
what's the yeah.
yeah, it's called the Addison Bowen podcast. So if you just
Oh, that's
search my
super
name, you'll
complex.
find it.
That's super complex.
Yeah.
Addison Bowen Podcast. Okay, and that's
Mhm.
Bowen. Okay.
Mhm. And we'll also be on YouTube. And the great thing about the podcast is that half of the sessions, or half of the episodes, are going to be free hypnosis sessions. So if
Oh,
you
very
want to
cool.
dive into
Yeah.
like, or try hypnotherapy, we're going to do everything from visualizations to like releasing anxiety to releasing imposter
Nice.
syndrome. So
Very
I really
cool.
wanted to give people a free way to experience it and
Mhm.
to get comfortable with hypnotherapy. So definitely that I'm really excited to expand and focus
Mhm.
on in the next couple of years. Outside of that, I just want to continue to expand my audience and get, hypnotherapy, subconscious reprogramming out there, continue to teach on it. I think eventually I will probably certify other hypnotherapists.
Mhm.
We're kind of
Mhm.
in the works of looking at the next level of my certification so that I'm able to do that.
Mhm.
I think that hypnotherapy and like subconscious work is something that not a lot of people are aware of, just the subconscious mind and just like how that plays out your day to day. So my goal is really just ultimately to get that knowledge out there, continue to grow my audience, continue to offer paid and free abilities for people to shift their mindset. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. But
Very, very cool.
expanding the podcast is number one.
Yep. Yes, yes, definitely. And then, if you had one piece of wisdom that you wanted to share just in general, so I'll take off the frameworks and the kind of the space we've been in business, but so it can be applied to any, business or anywhere else. But what's the best wisdom that you've gleaned from your work and in all these years? If you could crystallize down to one thought or one idea that you would like to share with as many people as possible, what would that thought be?
I think the biggest like lesson for me throughout my multiple years in business and even for my clients is to just really settle into like enjoying the journey, even if you're
Mm.
experiencing sadness, stress, anxiety, whatever you're experiencing right now, that's all serving like a larger purpose. You're going to look back on those moments and and take knowledge from that or learnings from that. And so I think that's like my biggest thing. Even me being young, I still have moments where I'm like, I'm behind. I know a lot of my clients experience that, and it's so silly. So it's like just learning to enjoy the journey and even the hard moments. Like, how is this? How is this serving me, or why is this happening for me, not like to me? I think that mindset shift of ultimately this is going to be a learning experience has been monumental for me in the years that I've been in business, and just enjoying each and every moment instead of constantly looking for that next goalpost of success, or continuing to move the goalpost forward and looking for more. It's like just really being grateful and appreciative of where I am right now, coupled with not limiting myself, has been huge for me. So I think that's it.
Sweet. Well, that's very cool. Well, thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming on the Bright Vibe podcast and sharing wisdom with us. I certainly appreciate the work you're doing. I think it's so cool, and yeah, just helping people. Anybody who's helping people, I'm all about wanting to visit with them and see how they're doing that, and hopefully spread that out and so that they can do more of it. So thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, this was so fun. I love these conversations. Love answering questions about the subconscious mind. So this was so fun.
Thank you for being a part of the Bright Vibe podcast. For more information, go to britevibe.com. That's BRITE vibe, VIBE.com. Thank you for listening.